Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up and enter our world. A warning to all, a word of beware. This isn't your normal paranormal affair. The strong man's inside. The wolf boy is too. There's a frozen Neanderthal and a bearded lady to boot. The admission is free, no fee to come near. Your stories you'll hear, born of horror and fear. A Bigfoot sighting is certain, a ghost story or two, an alien abduction, or a conspiracy brood. We're the collectors of stories, testimonies of the weird. Yes, soon you'll learn much of the world the normal ones fear. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com.
Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have a big-footed show for you.
Are you giving it away?
A little bit. It's a big old Sasquatchian show. Yeah, we're going down that road. Mm-hmm. We're going down the road of fuzzy photographs and blurry, shaky cameras.
The only kind. The only kind you can use.
The only good kind, anyway. Exactly. The blurry cam that we were going to sell at one point.
With the Bigfoot setting.
Yeah, but you know, all joking aside, mm-hmm. It's a interesting topic. Mm-hmm. And that will be our main attraction later today.
Yes.
The big attraction right now is the snow.
Oh my gosh, all the snow we got today.
Yeah. And
Still getting today.
I realize we have listeners from all over the planet. Mm-hmm. And, you know, some of you right now are basking in some sunshine. And we hate all of you, just to let you know.
Just so you know, in Maine, it's snowing.
So it's the second snowstorm in a week, mm-hmm. In a matter of 3 days. Mm-hmm. Huge snowstorm. We received over a foot of snow today.
Mm-hmm. Already, it's still snowing.
Yeah, and we already had, you know, probably 6 inches or so from...
At least 8
inches.
And then there's that whole layer of ice that's underneath all the snow from like a month ago.
Right, yeah, it's crazy. It's our first full Maine winter. It's intriguing. I can see why so many good novels have been penned by Stephen King.
I know. You can't do anything else.
What else are you going to do, right?
Stay in the house.
Yeah. Of course, I don't get that opportunity. I have to go out in the roads, but I like driving in the snow. I make it like a rally course kind of thing. And but even me with my all-wheel drive and my studded tires, this is a lot of snow.
It is.
It's a hazardous event. But here's something weird.
Okay.
I've been having some weird dreams.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been having some strange dreams where the past, present, future, symbols, all kinds of weird stuff. So whenever that stuff happens, mm-hmm. I've been doing this game long enough to know there's something going on, right?
Right.
So I look at these snowstorms, these huge storms, these weather patterns coming through, mm-hmm. and then we look at the full moon.
Right.
Also coming up, and the comet passing through, the eclipse, mm-hmm. the conditions of the world. It's just a lot of stuff going on, mm-hmm. and I always, you know, try to keep my eyes open, and I know you do too. It's we've been doing this so long that, you know, when you've been in the weird world for 20 years, you start noticing things.
Right. You learn to speak weird.
Yeah, I mean, you just notice things. You're like, oh, well, that probably means something,
right?
You know,
I should probably write that down.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's funny. You said that about writing things down. We're, you know, as we talked about, we're working on a little project on the side, and it's funny going back through our case books. Because mm-hmm. we actually keep those kids. Mm-hmm. And when we do a paranormal investigation, we do the interview, and we take that very seriously. And, you know, we do all the interview notes. We do the history notes. We do little notes of personal experiences, and we keep it all in our handy dandy notebook.
Right. Well, I think it's really important to write down that stuff while you're doing the investigation, especially the personal experiences, because, you know, as much as you think you're going to remember that stuff the next day or in a day or two, when you think back, you really can't remember it exactly the way it happened, like, unless you write it down right then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you have to have that with you.
And it helps out a whole lot, especially when you're going back through a book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That stuff helps out a lot because you're like, oh, yeah, that ghost said it wanted to kill me. And, which is true.
That's like every investigation.
Yeah, but there was that one that was legit. It was like, I want to kill him.
Yeah.
No, it says, I wish I could kill him.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, thanks.
Maybe the spirit just wanted you to join it. Maybe it was lonely.
Miss
See, you're looking at it all wrong.
I am looking at it wrong. No, you know what? I don't think I am. I don't think I'm zacking out on that one. It's that one is what it is. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go to find everything there is about ghosts that want to kill you. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. On Instagram, hot damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. On the YouTube, it's search Paranormal Sideshow. And we want to tell you a few things because we're really trying to get this show out there. So if you like the show, please share away. Share again. Mm-hmm. Subscribe on whatever way you like to listen to it. Send letters of recommendation. Put 5-star rankings up there. However you can do it. But we're trying to get it out there as many places as we can. And we need your help to do this. So we're adding the show to many places. And we've never done this in the past. As long as we've been doing this show, we've never really tried to increase the base. It always just kind of grows as a grassroots type thing.
Right.
People tell other people, and we end up getting tons of listeners. And and we enjoy and love and value all of that. But we're really trying to push this out there a little bit more on Stitcher.
Oh yeah, you can find us on Stitcher app now. And if you use the Stitcher app, if you're like a member or you just use the free app, look us up and give us a review on there because that would really help us out on that particular app.
Yeah, on that one, on iTunes, on any of them. We, and we're looking at a ton of them. We're trying to get it out there as much. And you have any suggestions, feel free to send us an email at johnandstaceyedwards@gmail.com, and let us know your suggestions on, really getting the show out there. We listen to everything that comes our way and I absolutely look at every one of you as partners in this little project that we do. And we want to keep making it bigger and better. And with the equipment, with outreach, maybe going video again, which we have the capabilities, but that's something we've talked about, just live from the studio again, and maybe having a live show again at a certain time every week as a second show. So there's a lot of things we're thinking of doing, and we're not opposed to any of them.
Right.
So if you have any ideas of what you would like, if you'd like us to start bringing on more guests, whatever you want to see, whatever you want to hear, let us know. Drop us a line, johnandstaceyedwards@gmail.com. That'll come directly to us, and we would love to hear your feedback. In the meantime, please share the show, get us out there, and we want to be able to tickle the horror bones of whoever's out there and maybe learn them something, or a thing or two, as we would say back on the mountain in the South.
That's right.
But you know what? We have a lot of news today. Okay. And we also have some cool stuff to get into after that for all you Bigfoot fanatics out there. So without any more ado, here's Stacey Edwards with the Paranormal News.
Okay, so let's start with the news. The first thing we're going to talk about is the weird celestial event that's going on this weekend. And this is going to happen Friday night, February 10th, and into Saturday morning. And what's going to happen is, first of all, it's a full moon. And it's called the snow moon, as funny as that is.
That is crazy.
Because it's snowing. But then there's going to be a lunar eclipse. And it's not going to be a total lunar eclipse. It's going to be what's called a penumbral lunar eclipse, which just means that the outer shadow of the Earth blocks part of the sun's rays, but not all of them. So the moon is going to appear darker than normal, and it's still considered a lunar eclipse. So apart with the full moon and the eclipse, a few hours after the eclipse, we're going to get Comet 45P, which has actually been kind of around for the past few months. Like with telescopes, you could see it. But it's going to actually make its closest approach to Earth.
Wow.
On that night as well, which is still about 7.4 million miles away, but you'll be able to see it. So the eclipse, you can see the eclipse about, I think on Eastern time, our time, about 7:45, something like that.
Right.
And then about 3 o'clock in the morning is when the comet's going to come through. And they do suggest using binoculars or telescope to help you see it. But I don't know if you particularly need it. You just look east. It's going to be in the constellation of Hercules. And it's,
so if we had that really cool camera that we're gonna buy,
zoom, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
I would think we'd be able to get
totally gonna buy
picture.
that camera.
But it
you can look at the moon.
They said to watch for a bright blue-green head and a tail going through, like, because it's a comet.
Right.
So, cool little event that's going to happen.
I believe it's Thundar the Barbarian. I believe that the comet's going to come, and I'm going to be, best friends of Ukla Mach the next day.
Well, it's interesting that it's all happening at the same time.
As weird as this week's been, it's just it doesn't surprise me at all. And plus, I like Ukla.
I don't know anything about any of those characters.
Thundar?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not up on my Thundar.
Thundar the Barbarian is the absolute the bomb diggity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You'll have to school me.
We're going to have to watch all of them.
Okay.
The princess, I believe Princess Ariel, Ukla Mach, and Thundar the Barbarian. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to school me. I know nothing.
It's sword and sorcery. It was a cartoon from the high age of sword and sorcery, when there were so many movies of sword and sorcery, and I took all of them in. It created and molded my life to be. I mean, you throw in Hammer Horror and the sword and sorcery movies. Right. A little bit of freaking pop culture.
Should have just known where you were going to end up, huh?
Shake it up in a bottle and you have me. Absolutely. So it's very strange. Mm-hmm. The timing is strange of the comet and the full moon and the snow moon or whatever, and these weird events that are happening.
Yes.
The timing is odd. So it's time to pay attention to your dreams.
Right.
Pay attention to signs, and stay warm and stay safe.
Things always get weird around the full moon anyway, even when there's not an eclipse.
For me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure for a lot of people too. But definitely for you.
We've met other people that have it. It's as close to actually transforming into a werewolf as possible. Anybody who's known me, I can't sleep. I writhe around in pain. My pain is through the roof. My crazy is through the roof. I just want to destroy things and ravage you and love. And
it's funny because even if I'm not really sure when the full moon's coming, I always know, like, to check whenever you start getting the weirdness. I'm always like, oh, I bet it's a full moon, and I'll check it. And sure enough,
right
there it is. So, all right. So let's move on. So speaking of comets and space things, there was a story from last week about a giant green fireball that landed in Lake Michigan. Which is pretty cool. And they actually somebody caught it on a dash cam. So there are videos out there of it. I'll link to a video. It looks really cool. But there were tons of reports, like almost 200 reports to the American Meteor Society. And it was a giant green fireball. And it came streaking through the sky about 1:30 in the morning. And it landed in Lake Michigan.
Wow.
So it's
that's like the
crazy.
Start of a bad 1983 movie right there.
It is.
Because I can see a bad, crappy movie coming from Michigan. And, and it being like some, not Swamp Thing. What was it? Oh, God. Toxic Avenger.
Oh, okay.
That for some reason, that just reminds me of how that would begin.
Well, they got reports, all the reports that came in, they came from Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, obviously, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, New York, Ontario, Kentucky, as far away as Kentucky, and Minnesota.
We have talked about this before.
Yeah.
No, we have talked about this before. Why in the hell does Kentucky always see it?
I don't know.
We have made a joke about that many times.
It's always Kentucky.
Do you remember?
I do remember now.
We're like, they always see it in Kentucky, or at least claim that they've seen it in Kentucky.
Kentucky, like in some sort of special area.
It's
where
weird,
they can
man.
see everything.
It's weird. It's always like, the strange sound was heard in Bangladesh, in Taiwan, and Kentucky. We're watching you, Kentucky.
That's a whole paranormal thing all in itself, isn't it?
We know Kentucky.
All right, so let's move on. Okay, so this story is really cool. This is about the hundreds of earthwork things that they found in the Amazon rainforest.
This one is cool.
Yes, I love this one. So what happened was they were flying a drone over the Amazon rainforest, and some of the modern deforestation that's going on has allowed about 450 of these structures that are they kind of resemble Stonehenge. They're henge type structures. Right. And they've all been discovered now just over the past year. Right. And they finally put a paper out about it. The research was carried out by a woman named Jennifer Watling. They really don't know the function of the sites, but they do say that they have like the ring and the ditch and the big stones, and that they don't find a lot of like artifacts and things. So they feel like these were areas that were used sporadically, like for some kind of worship or, gathering or, something like that. They don't really know what they're for. It could be anything. Yeah. Could be anything. But the discovery kind of reverses the assumption that that ecosystem is pristine, that it's never been touched before, because obviously it's got all of these henges. There were people there and the trees were not there.
It's almost like somebody terraformed and covered it up.
And just kind of got rid of it. But the article that I read said that these like glyphs and stuff, that they probably date to around 0, the year 0. You never see anything dated to 0. I thought that was a little weird. But I know I've seen people speculate that these are probably much older than that. I mean, they don't really know for sure because they haven't gotten down there to look at them.
Let me help you. Everything's older than what they say it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty much I do it on the scale of if they say it's this, I add like 10,000 years to it. It's well, I mean, it's just I think Graham Hancock was one of the ones that was seen doing this, talking about it being much older, and you can look at it as, are we fitting this into a story or is this actually much older? For me, I would believe, just because of how they've looked at the ecosystem in the Amazon and from tribes that they have there and whatnot, that you would, for the most part, believe that that part of it would have to be there longer than 2,000 years.
Well, you would think so.
You would think that it would just to be the way it is.
Well, what I thought was strange is, according to this article, that these scientists who think that they're from the year 0, so they feel that Stonehenge is that much older than these particular structures, but they're all kind of the same.
That's the weird,
which is weird because Stonehenge is obviously in England,
right? Regardless of when it's from, the very fact that the ditch and the circular pattern and all that is in there, it's weird, man. I mean, why are they? Why we look at pyramids and we say that, but we're all kind of a little bit numb to that by this point.
Right?
Why are these pyramids the same in all these different places? What made these people decide to build these? And but now you look at something like this. So precise and in a place that you would never have imagined.
Well, and also there were so many.
Yeah.
I mean,
450.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
For one area. And so if they were really a ritual site, I mean, would you really need that many if it was like a sacred site? I don't see why there would be quite that many. I don't know how spaced out they are, obviously.
I don't look at, I don't know. I take the stuff from the university scientist, if you will. I take the stuff from them with a grain of salt. I'll take what they found, what they find, and be like, okay, that's cool. Now let me try to develop my own theory around everything else. Instead
of trying to fit it into the box that we already know.
Right, because I think they try to fit everything into what's the accepted history of man.
Right.
This is accepted. We've got this many years to work with, folks. Let's go ahead and when they find a bunch of T-Rexes sitting around playing cards with the skeleton of a man, they'll come up with another story, for that.
Well, I mean, how many times do we see stories now where it changes? I mean, it's like everything they discover now, it's changing what they thought.
Every month, every couple of weeks, we see something that dates a certain area back even further.
You think that they would eventually just be like, okay, we don't know anything.
Yeah, we don't know shit.
We're just going to accept that.
We have no idea how long it's been here. We have no idea of what we did before. We're trying to figure it out. Please bear with us. We're having, technical difficulties.
Right. Or they could say things like, at this time, this is what we think.
Right.
But, this could change.
But no, they want to fit it in a textbook. They want to, be sure that we are evolved to the point we absolutely know everything.
Well, there's a reason they rewrite those textbooks every few years, I guess.
I tell you.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. So speaking of crazy discoveries, this is a story that's been going around where they found a lost continent in the ocean under an island of Mauritius, I think is how you say it. It's in the Indian Ocean.
Right.
So what it is it's these scientists that have found rocks and pieces of what they call a lost continent that was supposedly part of a supercontinent that existed like 200 million years ago. So what this is there supposedly was this supercontinent called Gondwana. And it was an ancient supercontinent that broke up about 180 million years ago that consisted of Africa and South America, Australia, Antarctica, and the Arabian Peninsula. And it didn't just split and drift apart.
Right.
They're saying that it broke and pieces fell into the ocean. And
Oh
so
my
there's
God.
these huge pieces of it. And they supposedly have discovered a number of pieces of this undiscovered continent in various sizes spread all over the Indian Ocean that's left over from the breakup of this supercontinent,
Jeez.
which I had never heard of before, this particular supercontinent. But they published all their results. They found, like, they made the discovery by analyzing a mineral called zircon, and they looked at the rocks, and they're saying that they're like billions of years old, which is a lot older than the rocks that are on the island above it.
Wow.
So pretty crazy discovery.
Yeah, it
Bottom
really
of the ocean.
is.
It's the bottom of the ocean thing.
Yeah. Once
Gotta
again.
look at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, but I thought that was pretty crazy. I'm curious to see. I guess they're going to keep doing studies and stuff like that, but I'm curious to see if they find any more
Yeah. Again, though,
big land masses or anything like that.
discoveries.
All right, so let's move on. So this next story is about something that it's a GoFundMe campaign, but I thought it was really interesting because it's a GoFundMe it's called End the ET Truth Embargo in
Right.
2017, and it's being run by Steve Bassett.
Okay.
So you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is part of that Paradigm Research Group, and they've been working towards disclosure for a really long time.
Right.
And they actually have, part of his group, they have connections in Washington and that kind of thing. So I think this is being done in conjunction with Coast to Coast
Right.
AM. But they have just started this GoFundMe campaign. And what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to raise money so that they can keep pressure. They want to hire a liaison or somebody that can be in Washington. They want an office in Washington, and they want someone that has a lot of connections that can keep pressure on the media and all the people in Washington to, get towards disclosure.
Right.
That kind of thing. So they've started this GoFundMe campaign, and I'm going to put a link up for it so that anybody that's interested in donating to that can look it up. It does say on their page that their campaign, when they raise the money, it's going to help them establish a permanent office in Washington, seek professional speaker representation, make contact with officials in European countries. They can develop video media for use in the disclosure advocacy movement, consolidate, redesign their websites, their Facebook pages, and also rehire that public relations liaison that has all the contacts they have substantial contacts in the new administration. So their goal is $50,000. It's only been up a couple days. They're up to about $3 right now.
Right.
But I'll put a link up for that. I know you can go to Coast and find it as well because he was on their show recently.
Yeah. I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't see anything changing until somebody decides to change.
I don't think so either. I mean, it's a noble cause that you work for.
It is, and I'm not trying to deter anyone from this, but
No.
it's not, I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
I don't know if they're actually going to get anything accomplished. That route going through Washington like that. I mean, if they plan on doing disclosure, it'll happen when they want it to, and not when anybody else.
When they
wants them to.
they can come out and say 100%, this is what we've actually done. This is, treaties that we actually have.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason we haven't told you. I think that's one of the big things is the liability on, what they haven't told us. I don't know. I've talked to you before about the fact that, do I think people would go into hysteria? Yes.
I think so.
I think in their own way. I mean, obviously, turn on the news.
Right.
It doesn't take a whole lot.
No, it does not take a whole lot to provoke people into rioting.
Yeah.
When rioting's not even the answer. So
right.
I don't know. All right, so let's move on. So here's a story from Sri Lanka.
Ah, I love Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
It's where Hungry Like the Wolf was filmed.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and Rio.
Okay, so
And Save a Prayer.
is this a Duran Duran theme?
Well, just to let you know,
they liked Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is a great place to film a video.
Okay, well, it's not a great place if you're an astrologer and you give a false prediction.
Oh.
Apparently. So there's an astrologer who predicted in Sri Lanka that the president was going to die soon. He made that prediction and it ended up being wrong and he was arrested and sent to prison. Okay, so this astrologer, what happened was he predicted that the president was going to either get ill or have an accident by January 27th. Mm-hmm. And obviously none of that even happened. And so they arrested him because they take that stuff very seriously.
Well, yeah.
And after he made the prediction, he actually made some videos and he put them on Facebook and he predicted all of this stuff. And some of the top government officials were really concerned and they started investigating because they were afraid that it was like he was planning something kind of thing. So they thought, like he was going to assassinate him. So it didn't happen. They arrested him and now he's in jail because he could possibly mislead people. I don't know what their reason was.
Is there any possibility that because he predicted this, that didn't happen?
Well, see, that's what I thought. My thoughts were that he did all these predictions and it even says that it raised the concerns of the government officials. So obviously they were extra careful because they thought something was going to happen and maybe he was extra careful. And so instead of doing something that would have got him sick or killed, he ended up not doing those things. So in essence, making the prediction kept him from dying. So that was my thought.
Well, you should have been his attorney.
But apparently they don't see it that way because they take that stuff very, very seriously.
Yeah, but if they take it very seriously, then they should look at that side of it too.
I guess. I don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen to him. I just know he was arrested and it was a big deal. All right, so let's go on to the next story. This is the one about the British athletes on their reality show. And they claim that a sex ghost is haunting their show.
Oh.
So 2 British athletes, they're starring on this reality show called The Jump. And it's basically a British show where famous people compete in snow sports.
Oh, that sounds great.
So it's interesting, I guess, if you like skiing and whatever.
Yeah.
So the first episode just aired this past week. But what's happened is it's come out that one of the celebrities went to her hotel and asked to change rooms because she said that she was being, I guess, molested by a ghost. Yeah, that
Touched.
She was having, some ghost was having sex with her in her room and she needed a new room. And so according to this article, another athlete also asked to be moved, not because he was being molested, but because it scared him when he heard her story,
right,
or whatever. But apparently it made this big deal. Like it was more popular than the episode of the show.
Well, yeah.
Imagine that.
I mean, they should really shift gears. I mean, Paranormal is going to trump that any day.
Of course, I know. So she, the article is pretty descriptive. She was pretty descriptive about what was happening.
I'll have to read that one.
Yeah, so I'll put a link up for the article. I'm not gonna go through all the details, but you can read it and see. But she got scared, wanted a room change, and so this other guy asked to change his room as well. I don't know what that was about.
Wow.
But this isn't the first time that people have come out and admitted, celebrities saying that they've had
50 Shades of Boo.
the sex. Well, I know this one article mentioned Bobby Brown last year to promote his book, talked about how he had sex with a ghost. And of course, we know Kesha, who wrote the whole song. That was years ago. But she wrote a song. What was her song? Supernatural, about having sex with a ghost. So do you know that there's a name for people that like want to have sex with spirits?
No, I did not.
You didn't know that? I didn't either, but I looked it up. It's a real thing. It's called spectrophilia.
Wow.
People that want to have sexual encounters with spirits.
Well, I'll have to know that list for when I pass.
The list of spectrophilia.
I'm going to be a busy ghost.
I didn't realize that was actually a thing.
No, I didn't
But
either.
I mean, it's like a newer term. You're not going to find it in Webster's dictionary, I'm sure, but
no, that's crazy.
It's there. It's there.
It's really cool about the show, though. We'll have to investigate the hotel.
Yeah, possibly. It didn't give the name of the hotel, but I'm sure we could find out.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's really something that happened or if they're just trying to trump up ads
I don't
for
know.
their show.
I mean, do you do that by saying you had sex with a ghost?
I don't know. It would be weird.
There's a lot better ways to, infighting on the set or, something like that.
I don't know. It's a reality show about ski jumping.
So if they really want to jump the shark, the next thing I would do would be like, I got paranormal STD. It's like this new thing and be like, I don't know. You can't see the warts, but I'm telling you,
they're there.
They are there. I can feel them. They itch. Sometimes they burn and become irritated in my bikini.
Do they leak ectoplasm?
In my bikini area.
That's gross. Oh, you've just given someone a terrible idea.
The ghost STDs.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So I've got 2 more stories. Okay. And in order to kind of stick with our theme for the main attraction, these are both Bigfoot stories.
Okay.
Recent Bigfoot sightings. So I thought these would be fun since we're talking about Bigfoot tonight. All right. So this
Messin
first one.
Sasquatch.
This first one is about a man from Manchester, Greater Manchester. And supposedly he found a huge footprint when he was out walking his dog, and he took pictures of it. So he was walking, and he didn't measure the footprint. He just took a picture of it, but he says that his feet are size 10 and he could put his whole foot in this particular footprint.
He could put his whole foot in my footprint.
Yeah, I know. But I thought that was kind of a small.
Yeah, well, it's not small. I think it's a little bit better than average, but I'm a 13. So
maybe I'm just used to your feet.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. So it was funny because he took a picture and he didn't particularly come right out and say that it was a Bigfoot.
It's a good size.
But he posted it. I'm sure he'll be glad to know that. He posted it, and people started saying, hey, that looks kind of like a Bigfoot foot. Now, I looked at the picture, and I didn't think it looked like a Bigfoot track. It's weird. It's kind of hourglass shaped, and it's got claws on the front. To me, it looks like there was like a bear that stepped and then stepped in his own footprint. Do you know what I mean? And it made it bigger. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No, I was just picturing a freaking bear trying to not leave bare footprints. It's like I don't need a bunch of hunters after me. Let me step in my own tracks here.
It was funny because in the article it said that he said that it was clearly a bear footprint, but not like raw bear, like no socks bear. You know, like barefoot.
Yeah, not like a raw bear.
Yeah,
I like
it. Exactly. So I'll put a link to this. Everybody can look at the picture. You can decide for yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a Bigfoot.
Maybe so.
Footprint. So you never know. This other Bigfoot story, I love this story. This one's great. So this is about a North Dakota man. Okay. His name is Christopher Bauer. And a couple months ago, like right around Christmas, his wife said that she saw something looking in the window. And like a big hairy thing looking in the window. So he went out to investigate the situation. He found these huge footprints in the snow nearby, and it made a trail. So he is actually a trapper. You know, he follows animals. Right. That's what he does.
Didn't know they still had those.
So he started following this trail of big footprints. Now, he took pictures with a measuring tape.
Right.
He actually laid a measuring tape down.
That's crazy. I didn't know there was measuring tapes that could take pictures.
Into this. Very funny. He took pictures that had a measuring tape in next to the footprint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's a good idea, though, for Bigfoot people.
Yeah. Measuring tape cameras.
Yeah, the slash camera.
Anyway, the footprints were 18 inches long and 8 inches wide.
Now, that's a good size.
Yes, that is. And he followed them. He said he followed them for 7 miles. That he just was going after them. And there was a couple places where it looked like he had stopped and bent down and picked something up out of the snow. Like maybe he was saying like maybe a vole or a rat or something to maybe eat. And once he got to the end, like they crossed over a highway and then they went off into the hills and he lost the trail. But
not much of a trapper.
He said that the stride on the footprints was about 4 feet. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good stride. Now, when he took the pictures, he just took pictures of individual footprints. He got a couple of them though, and they're pretty good. So he never did. Pervert. He never did find anything, but he swears that it was a Bigfoot.
Right.
Like absolutely 100% because of the footprints and the stride. So funny enough, he went on the news with this story and they did like a report, which, you know, I'll put a link up for. But a couple weeks later, to add a little twist to the story, the news place, the television station, got this anonymous letter that said that they made the tracks for him to follow, that it was a hoax, that they were just pranking him. And it was some guy that said he was a little bit drunk and that he made wooden footprints and he went to this guy's house and made this trail for him to follow, and that it was all just this big hoax, that he tricked him.
And he walked for 7 miles.
Yeah, and made 4-foot strides. So apparently the TV station WDAY in Fargo, they didn't like reveal all the contents of the letter. They just said basically what it was saying, that this unnamed individual said they're responsible for the tracks and that he was just a victim of a prank and that he was sorry that it got all out of hand or whatever. But he didn't prove anything. He didn't show he said he made footprints out of wood, but he didn't show any pictures of his fake foot or whatever. And it doesn't really explain why he did it so long, especially if he was drunk.
Yeah, for 7 miles.
7 miles. And why this trapper would think that the stride was quite so long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know why someone would send a letter saying that they hoaxed it if they didn't, unless like even the guy that followed Christopher Bauer, he says that he feels like this person is just trying to take focus off the story.
Yeah, discredit
him. So he's adamant. He's like, I saw Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And I followed it.
That's crazy.
So it was pretty crazy. So this all just happened just, over the past couple months.
Very interesting story.
Yes, that's what I thought too. All right, so that is all of my news.
All right. Well, it's then time for the main attraction.
Honored guests, friends, and marks, we here at the Paranormal Sideshow would ask that those faint of heart or weak of the knees to please switch off this broadcast, as it's time for the supernatural spectacle, a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma and stuffed neatly inside of a Tijuana taco roll. It's now time for our main attraction.
All right. Now it's time for our main attraction. And our main attraction this time, come one, come all, folks of all sizes. You're going to love this. We're talking Sasquatch.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, we're messing with Sasquatch. People know that have listened to the show for a long time. I'm kind of wishy-washy on Bigfoot.
Right.
And I always have been. But those things change over time, especially with some of the stories that I've heard.
Right.
And some people that are very, very adamant about what they've seen and what they've experienced. And let's face it, it's something that's not, going away. It grows bigger and bigger. And,
look at how many Bigfoot shows are on TV.
Yeah, I mean, the phenomenon is crazy. What gets me more than anything, more than any modern day sighting, more than any modern day person, is the very fact that, as I've also talked about before in the past, the very fact that you have all these people throughout the ages who have seen similar items, similar beings,
right,
and they have, described them in a similar way. They all have different names from these different continents, and before the information age,
right,
they had all had these stories. So obviously there's something there. And I go on that more than anything with stuff is like,
right, the history of it.
The history of it, exactly. Yeah. And looking at patterns. But, Bigfoot, often called Sasquatch, mentioned in several Native American legends.
Yes. Oh yeah, Native Americans, I think every tribe has a different name for their Bigfoot creature.
Right, because they were in the woods all the time and, not dumbed down by society and
exactly.
TV. In fact, the term Sasquatch in Indian means hairy giant.
Oh, well then there you go.
Yeah.
That fits.
I'm surprised that's not my Indian name. The first sighting of a Sasquatch by a white man apparently came in 1811 near what is now known as Jasper, Alberta, Canada. A trader named David Thompson found some strange footprints, 14 inches long and 8 inches wide, with 4 toes in the snow. In 1924, a Canadian lumberjack named Albert Ostman claimed that he had been prospecting near Tibet Inlet when he was captured by a family of Bigfoots.
Oh, I remember about this story, yeah.
The father and daughter guarded him while the mother and son prepared the meals. The family was vegetarian and ate roots, grass, and spruce tips. After about a week, Ostman was able to slip away. He didn't tell his story to anyone until 1957.
I remember, I think I remember reading something about that, and he actually did some interviews before he died. I think he was pretty hardcore on his "this happened" story. Like he didn't waver from his story. That's a pretty famous one.
He waited 33 years to tell it. I mean,
do you blame him though? I mean, really, I was abducted by a family of Sasquatches.
Me personally, I would tell.
Would you?
Yeah, what do I got to lose?
True.
But
True.
I mean, I would absolutely tell. People back then, though, they worried about different things. I mean, women, they would worry about what people would look at them for, sending a man a letter. So, I mean,
it's true.
It's just different times.
Yeah, I think I did read about that story, and I think one of the things that made people believe him was he had a lot of details about the way that the creatures moved and looked like that wasn't normal knowledge.
Well, details are, when something really happens to you, and we've talked about this before, when something really happens to you, one of the things as a trained investigator that I look at is details.
Right.
When something harrowing happens to you, you are nothing but details.
Right.
You have so many details. And when someone's telling me a story, they know these fine little details. They if it really happened to them, they know these fine little details because the time stops.
Right.
And you kind of take in everything that's happening. Oddly enough, 1924 was not only a time of flappers and gangsters and prohibition, but it was also obviously a time for Bigfoot. Because as the last one was, and also in 1924 in the region of Mount St. Helens, a prospector complained to a forest ranger that he'd been woken in the middle of the night when stones were thrown at his cabin. Peeking outside, he saw Sasquatches, and they was screaming like a bunch of apes. The man hid under his bed till the morning came. Going outside, he found the cabin surrounded by big footprints.
Sasquatches.
Yeah.
Is that the proper plural form?
I don't know, but this guy, what a crazy thing to see.
Yeah, that's true. And have like stuff thrown at him and then find the Bigfoot prints.
In the United States in 1958, a bulldozer operator named Jerry Crew found enormous footprints around where he was working in Humboldt County, California. Crew made a cast of the footprint. A local newspaper ran the story of Crew and his footprint with a photo. The story was picked up by other papers and ran throughout the country. It was the picture of Crew holding the Bigfoot that made the name stick.
The name Bigfoot?
Yeah.
See, it's an American thing, Bigfoot. We went from this really nice name Sasquatch that actually means something to Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was that, it doesn't surprise me a bit. It's kind of like we're the monster trucks of the world.
I guess so.
Willow Creek, California claims to be the Bigfoot capital of the world. There are 3 Bigfoot statues and 2 Bigfoot murals. The Bigfoot Scenic Byway, a Bigfoot museum that has over 30 plaster cast footprints, all different, and almost every business has some type of Bigfoot concession.
Wow, they're really milking that, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Maine has a Bigfoot place in Portland. I mean, it's
it's got the museum there,
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's worldwide, and it's a big freaking deal.
It is a big deal, and that area where that is, that Willow Creek, I think that's really extreme northern California, like almost Oregon. So it's Pacific Northwest where you get all the sightings anyway because of all the wooded areas. Yeah. So, well, I looked up to see what kind of, because you said something about there being a creature in every area of the world.
Right.
So, they're all called different things.
Yes, they are.
Even though they're very similar. So like in America, Bigfoot, obviously, because we use that name. And you can interchange that with Sasquatch.
Right.
Which I guess is more of a Canadian thing. Of course, in the Himalayas, you have the Yeti.
Oh, yeah.
Or also, they also call him the abominable snowman, don't they?
Yes.
I think people just couldn't say abominable very well.
Yeah, very good.
So they said Yeti. I actually said it. In Australia, do you know what it's called in Australia?
Yowie.
The Yowie, very good. I like that one. I actually know that because of the Scooby-Doo movie with the Yowie.
Isn't the Yowie a vampire in that movie?
I think so.
Okay.
But still, it's a name. In Mongolia, they call it an almas. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a Bigfoot creature. In China, they have the Yeren. In Sumatra, the orang pendek.
Yes.
Which we've heard of. Now, in Florida and like in the southern U.S., they have like a Bigfoot creature. They call him a skunk ape.
Right.
Because I guess he smells.
Yes.
Yeah. And in Ohio, there's one. Believe it or not, in Ohio, they have one called the Ohio Grassman, but it's supposed to be like a Bigfoot thing. And of course, we mentioned every Native American tribe has a name. You can even look it up. There's like a website that has all the names A to Z, and there's just hundreds of names for this creature that supposedly doesn't exist.
Right. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
But, when you look at cryptozoology and you look at, honestly, just science, actual science, and every year they find so many new species. And yes, most of those are micro-sized, or a new butterfly or something stupid like that. But it's
still a new species.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, they do find things that they had no idea were any possibility of still being here. Look, we still find civilizations we didn't know were there.
Oh,
so, there's a lot. If you ever go out into the deep woods, and I'm talking the deep forest, it kind of solves all those questions you may have. I know when we went exploring in Maine,
right,
into the forest, into taking logging roads.
Yeah. In the fall when we were looking at leaves, we didn't drive that far, and we were in like nothing.
Yeah, we drove.
It was like thick woods.
We drove like 4 or 5 hours, and
yeah, I know, but once we got to where civilization ended,
it was all.
And you drive into it. It's not very far you have to go before it's thick and deserted, and the perfect place.
Yeah, the canopy's crazy. It's just it's nuts. We saw moose, but in the wild, but it was nuts because you get that realization that it's so much bigger than what you imagine, and you can look at your Google Earth all day, but it does no justice to actually boots on the ground.
No.
Seeing what you're up against.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the more famous Bigfoot cases. There has been some very popular ones, and of course they're very heavily scrutinized.
They are.
There is a lot going back and forth on those. There's people that come out sometimes and say it was a hoax, and there's other people that claim that to this very day that that it's accurate and it's real. Now I remember getting interested in things beyond. I was always interested in ghosts.
Right.
Even when I was little, I think that's just Scooby-Doo's fault.
Probably.
But, I was always interested in that kind of investigation. But I know when I seen Leonard Nimoy and In Search Of, I used to watch it with my dad. And I remember the Bigfoot episode like it was yesterday.
I don't remember that specific episode. I did watch that show.
It terrified me. It was like, holy cow, this is a whole new world. And that opened up for me of imagination and of what could be out there. And I love that. I love it for that reason.
Right.
So I was in love with the Bigfoot phenomena, when I was little, just thinking about the Patterson-Gimlin footage.
Right.
That they showed on that. And of course, the footage itself is from 1967. And the story is October 20th, 1967. Bigfoot hunters, Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin, were out riding their horses in the Bluff Creek area of California, researching recent Sasquatch reports when they came across an overturned tree. To their surprise, walking slowly along the creek bed, approximately 120 feet away from where the men stood, was the very creature they had been looking for. Patterson filmed the encounter on his 16-millimeter camera. Jumping down from his horse, he ran after the creature, dropping to his knees when the 7-foot-tall beast glanced over its shoulder and looked directly at him before continuing its way, eventually disappearing into the trees. Many scientists have judged the video to be nothing more than a hoax. There are many cryptozoologists who believe it's the real deal, making the Patterson-Gimlin footage not only the most famous, but also the most controversial Bigfoot sighting in existence. And since that time, there's been people say, that were involved there. There's a lot, let's just say there's a lot of debate there.
There is.
And I've watched the piece-by-piece breakdowns of this video. I've watched millions of times.
Right.
I've watched everybody break this down. I even named my blog after it years ago, over the famous frame that, with the Bigfoot turning back and looking.
Yeah.
And, I think people say it's a female Bigfoot. I believe it had some tatas.
I guess it has some characteristics in that respect. I mean, any Bigfoot footage you're going to have is going to be controversial because people are so hardened skeptics to it being a real thing.
Right.
So, I mean, unless you're going to get a video up close, perfectly crisp clear of an actual Sasquatch, I mean, I think even then people would be like, oh, that's a guy in a suit or something. They're just not going to.
Absolutely. I mean, people, I'll shift gears a little bit. People to this day, I still see these stupid memes and I see conversations of people saying, like when Ghost Hunters was ending, even though Jason will be going on and doing something else.
Right.
But when Ghost Hunters itself was coming to an end, there was these memes out, 10 years and they still haven't found a ghost or something like that.
Right.
Which that is complete and utter bullshit.
Right.
If you look at the EVPs, if you look at scientific conditions on these EVPs that we catch, I think that people have lost their senses, because if you can put a recorder down in between you and I right now, and I ask a question and it comes back with an intelligent response, case closed.
Right.
Okay. There's nothing here other than us and this fucking recorder.
Right.
And so when you get an intelligent response on that, then what happens is you're getting something from somewhere. It's something from somewhere. It's something from the other side. It's something from something we can't see. So hence paranormal. Okay. So, the easiest way to put that is that's a ghost. I mean, we hope that's a ghost. We hope that's not some elemental creature from the third realm of hell, but more than likely that's what it is. So it gets my ire up just thinking about the fact of people wanting to go, well, you never catch anything. You know what? You're never going to change your opinion. You're never going to change your opinion. You're one of those people who want to be a skeptic. You want to be like, a bad skeptic. There's good skeptics. There's good skeptics that go, what were the conditions at the time? What was the temperature? Was there any outside bleed from the windows? Was there any possibility? I don't mind that.
Right. Just trying to figure out that everything, it wasn't accidental.
Yeah. You're a skeptical person. You've got a very skeptical mind. I don't mind that.
Right.
What I mind is people saying you've caught nothing. You've captured nothing. You've never captured anything. There's no proof of the paranormal anywhere, when that is total bullshit.
I agree.
There is proof of the paranormal everywhere. There is video. There is audio. There is firsthand accounts. Everyone and everybody knows somebody that has had a paranormal encounter. Now, Bigfoot, that's where I had to turn my keys around and go, you know what? I can't just say this is...
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing. I can't do that. I learned my lesson with crop circles because, I was that way about crop circles until people started coming to me with this incredible evidence. And I changed my view on that, my broadened my mind on this, Bigfoot, as we're talking about this captured footage.
Right.
It may or may not be real. I don't know. Okay. I really don't know. But the possibility of it being real is 100%.
Oh yeah, I mean it's always possible.
100%.
Because as we've talked about before, there's so many things that we don't know are out there.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, you just never know. Well, I know I have a sighting, and this is another video sighting, and this is more recent than the famous one. Obviously, this is from 2000, and it's the Marble Mountain Bigfoot sighting, which is one that people really enjoy using as evidence. But this came from 2000. In July of 2000, there was a group of hikers up in the mountains, about 15 people. So it was a lot of people that witnessed this.
Right.
And there were a lot of children. They were doing a camping trip for like disabled children and that kind of thing. But they were hiking through on Marble Mountain. And this is in California.
Right.
And they came across some of these structures that looked like dens where like branches and leaves had been kind of put down, and it was an area underneath where you could climb and sleep.
Blair Witch.
And so they were looking at that. They were like filming it. The guy was using his camera. He's like, look what we found. And he was filming. And one of the kids spotted this large humanoid figure standing high up on the ridge. And so they pointed the camera at it, and it's way in the distance, but it's like a huge looking Bigfoot. And it just kind of walked and watched them and was just walking along the ridge until it disappeared behind some trees and watched them. So it's a pretty long video. I mean, it's not close up and it's not detailed, but it does look like a very large figure.
So what do people say about this one?
Just that that what they found was like where this Bigfoot was probably sleeping, and then it was watching them because they were in its area. And the video, you can tell when it's in the distance, but you can still tell that it's a very large kind of creature.
So next we'll talk about the Paul Freeman footage.
Ah, yes.
Interesting story just because of the way it develops.
Right.
On June 10th, 1982, good time, June 10th, 1982.
Paul, memories.
Yes. Paul Freeman reportedly sighted a Bigfoot near Walla Walla, Washington. It's one of my favorite places.
I know.
Which he described as being nearly 8 foot tall and covered in reddish brown body hair. Now, I've hung out with a guy like that before. In 1994, Freeman captured his own encounter. So 12 years later,
right,
if you're keeping up, with Bigfoot on film in the Blue Mountain region of Washington.
Okay, so kind of the same area.
Yeah. The footage shows an alleged Bigfoot walking through the woods. The original film was taken with a poor quality video camera.
Of course it was.
Meaning the images were blurry and the camera work was shaky, to say the least. There's an edited and stabilized version on YouTube. But, still, it's one of the better known, versions.
And well debated.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
As they all are.
I think that's cool that he actually saw a Bigfoot back in 1982 and then probably spent all that time trying to recapture what he had seen.
It's our story except on Bigfoot.
Right. But then he eventually got the footage on, which is amazing. He must have been super excited about that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me tell you about one more sighting that was on film that's kind of popular. And this is from the Tatry Mountain, and this is Poland. So this is a Yeti.
Okay.
It's not a Bigfoot. It's
awesome.
a Yeti.
Love Poland, by the way.
So there was a guy that was hiking in the Tatry Mountain range in Poland. This is in 2009. His name was Peter Kowalski. And he stumbled across this Yeti. And so he was really surprised, but he thought to get his camera out, which is amazing because a lot of people don't think to do that. And it's shaky camera work,
right?
Obviously. But when you watch it, you see that it's like a large human-like creature, and it's sort of maneuvering around boulders and rocks and making its way down the mountainside. So it's out in the middle of nowhere,
right?
Because he's hiking and rock climbing. And you can see it looks just like a Bigfoot, obviously, and he just filmed it for a few seconds, coming down the mountain. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome footage. It was taken on a mobile device. You can kind of tell.
Well, I mean, once again, we're going back to the thing. There's thousands of video sightings out there.
There are.
And at least hundreds. And people will, unfortunately, crap on every single one of them because, one or two guys get in monkey suits and walk around and, try to fake it. And it's one of the things like crop circles, like we were talking about a while ago. When you fake something, you ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there are some videos that you cannot obviously tell are fake.
Right.
I mean, you can just obviously tell it's a suit because it looks like the suit that's down in the, costume shop at Halloween.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
But the ones that we talked about, these were some of the more compelling ones.
So yeah, and all we're trying to say is maybe keep an open mind. Look at this and look into it. Maybe message the person, try to find out more information. Now, I will say things to look for on a fake. When the video is 3 seconds long, 8 seconds long, something like that, you're not seeing anything before or after to give any kind of texture to what's happening.
Right.
It's just too outlandish to be real. A lot of times that is a good thing for being fake. I mean, let's say this. If we're out and I catch a Bigfoot walking, okay, you only have a second to get that phone up. By the time you turn on to you hit camera,
get the thing rolling,
get over to video, hold it up there. You're not gonna, for something that's taking strides of 4 foot at a time.
Right.
If it's going across the road, how much time are you really going to have?
Right.
Okay. Now, also, you're worried about your safety, right? Because it's a 8 foot, 10 foot tall creature that could rip you apart.
Right. It seems like most of the time when these encounters happen, though, the creature's trying to go away.
Right.
Like
Always.
It doesn't seem like it's aggressive.
It does not want anything to do with us.
I don't want to get caught on camera.
It doesn't want anything to do with us. And we'll get into the theories of that later. But all I'm saying is, give a little bit of break to these people, because I can tell you firsthand from being on so many paranormal investigations, looking for UFOs, that when something does happen, you don't have time to record anything.
It's like it doesn't click. Like you're seeing it and you want to see it and you don't want to take your eyes away. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I should be filming this.
Right.
But then it's too late.
Absolutely. Well, to get onto the theory part of things, we'll do a few theories here. The Bigfoot alien theory.
Oh, that's a big theory.
It is a big theory.
That's a big theory.
Some people believe Bigfoot may be an alien species. Species, not feces. That kind of came out in both ways there for a second. Alien feces, completely different, kids. We're going to do that next week. Dropped off here by visitors from another world for reasons known only to them. As odd as this sounds, there does seem to be a correlation between increases in Bigfoot sightings and increases in UFO activity. Which, just like demons and everything else, it's so weird how the paranormal always it's weird, man. It
is weird.
And one of the theories we'll get into, it goes into my theory of Bigfoot, but I think it explains it a little bit more. Possibly these Sasquatch creatures are a type of experiment. Aliens would leave them on our planet for a while and then collect them again after a period of time. Since they are apparently so similar to us, the alien visitors may be able to see all kinds of results that exposure to our earthly environment has had on them. Perhaps Bigfoot is a hybrid of some sort, a cross between humans and some kind of creature that exists on the alien homeworld. Some examples of this theory. 1973, Mrs. Rifa Hetfield, she and her 13-year-old son were sleeping in a trailer in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the morning of October 21st. Rifa arose around 2:30 a.m. to quench her thirst and noticed strange lights in the adjoining parking lot. Looking out the window, her attention was drawn in particular to an inexplicable cone of light, shaped like a huge bubble umbrella, about 7 feet in diameter. Nearby, she spotted a grayish ape-like creature with a large downward-angled snout, no neck, and a sizable waist. Moving slowly, it then entered into the light. About 5 minutes later, both ape man and UFO disappeared. Wow,
so she saw the UFO and the Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
And then they left together.
Yeah. And another dramatic incident occurred a few days later on October 25th, 1973. A group of farmers in Fayette County, Pennsylvania, caught sight of a dome-shaped UFO that was brightly lit and about 100 feet in diameter. As the locals drove toward it, they saw a pair of gargantuan creatures covered with thick matted hair, luminescent green eyes, and long arms that dangled below their knees. And there's no way I could have been there at the time. A farmer's son fired a gun, obviously, because it's America,
right,
at the creatures, one of which raised its right hand in the air. At that very moment, the UFO disappeared. Then the two Bigfoots escaped into the woods and were never seen again.
Oh, so this was a drop-off situation.
Right.
Where I guess they were leaving them.
Right.
That's crazy.
In 1974, great year 1974, dairy farmer William Bosak of Frederick, Wisconsin, was returning from a co-op meeting, good old co-op meetings, at 10:30 p.m. on December 9th, when he nearly slammed into a UFO on the road in front of him, its bottom half enshrouded in fog. Inside the transparent dome was a 6-foot-tall ape-like creature with reddish-brown fur covering its body, except for the face, and distinctive pointed ears. It appeared to be operating a control panel. As Bosak passed by, the object suddenly arose and disappeared.
With the Bigfoot,
so Bigfoot has skills.
Driving it.
Yeah.
So in that instance, Bigfoot is the alien.
Yeah, he is the alien in that one. In August 1976, after a series of UFO sightings around Rutland, British Columbia, Canada, several men and their children saw a hairy ape-like entity, 6 to 7 feet tall, roaming about the mountainside. They also found a clump of hair that was sent to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for identification, Laboratory analysis confirmed it was a primate hair, But significantly, it could not be matched to any known species on Earth, And then they apologized about it.
Of course they did.
They did.
Because they're Canadian.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty interesting theory.
It is. It really is.
Especially since, obviously, there are sightings of UFOs and Bigfoot together, which you wouldn't think would be the case.
And again, even though the 70s isn't really the antiquities,
right?
It is also at a time where I know some of our younger listeners can't imagine this. But if something happened in British Columbia, you may not hear about it where you're at in Wisconsin or Virginia or Ohio. You may have to wait until you got like some crazy magazine that you talked your mom into letting you buy, that had weird stories in it, because this would not have been covered by national news. And back then, the power elite had a lot easier time to control 3 networks than they did with all the YouTube and everything else that we have these days.
Right.
It's not that, I really don't think that it's that the weird stuff has increased. I think that our availability to it has increased.
All right. So what do you think about this alien theory? Do you think that Bigfoot, and that's why they never find any, because maybe the aliens drop them off and pick them up, and
I have
maybe
a hard
they're
time
super
with
intelligent?
Here's my hard time with it. I'm going to be very vulnerable. Okay. My hard time with it isn't as much the fact that it could be plausible,
right,
as it is the fact that I try to keep a certain amount of dignity within my profession.
Right.
I like to have a nice, neat little story for everything that could be possibly accepted by the masses.
Right.
And just because I believe in so many things that I do truly with all my heart believe are real, it's hard for me to go to someone who is a little sketchy on believing what I believe.
Right.
And then Bigfoot is actually an alien and flies a little UFO and drops out in the woods, and every now and then he has these kids, they're black-eyed kids, and they go knock on people's door, and these men in black chase them around.
Right.
And sometimes when they've been in a house for too long, they leave off these little droppings of demon ghost. And I mean, it's just,
is it just going a little too far for you?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's a little bit hard. I'm not going either way on it. I will say this. That one is probably the hardest for me to buy.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could put those things together anyway. I know people say they see UFOs and Bigfoot at the same time, but maybe the aliens are just good at finding them.
So, possibly there is an alien species.
Right.
That is Bigfoot,
maybe
in looks. And they've been here for, a long time. Maybe they escaped the planet before the first cataclysm.
Right.
And, come back. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, it's a theory. That's why it's a theory.
And that's why it's here.
All right. So there's another theory. that people use, and it's the giant ape theory. What people say about this is that they say that Bigfoot is a descendant of this giant ape species that they knew existed called Gigantopithecus blackie.
I love that name.
And this is a giant ape. It was about 10 feet tall, mostly seen in China and Asia, that area. So the way the theory gets around it being all over the world is they're saying that this Gigantopithecus, it's just an extinct genus of ape. It existed about, I think, like 9 million years ago, but as recently as 100,000 years ago.
Right.
Is what they think. And that it was mostly
Will you
China.
say its name again?
Gigantopithecus.
Thank you.
It was in what's now China, India, Vietnam, that sort of thing. So what they're thinking is that maybe this giant ape species evolved and that the ancestors may have followed ancient humans across the Bering Land Bridge to, North America during the last ice age, kind of how people supposedly spread.
Which they've kind of disproven that a little bit.
I know, but
now. Yeah, I got you.
That's the theory. And that kind of explains how the similar creatures made their way here, in that they're all just this descendant of this ape that they knew existed at one point in time.
That land bridge was pretty damn busy place, wasn't it?
It was. It was like a super highway.
Let's all go on the land bridge, y'all.
It was a super highway. I mean, that's the theory. I guess it's a good theory to draw on. I mean, those ancient apes were like 9 to 10 feet tall, weighed about 1,200 pounds. I mean, they were huge, and they have fossil record of that. So, I mean, it's a plausible theory.
I mean, we find things all the time. We find new species from our past. We find bones they're close to human, but they're not.
Right.
I believe that there's a lot that, once again, we don't know yet, and we just don't understand, and we won't for a long time.
Well, I can understand the theory about it being a giant ape species because, apes are smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking at intelligence there. They know how to work and do things and use tools and, So if you have this Bigfoot that's supposedly something that evolved from apes are already smart. Maybe it's smart enough to know to stay away from humans.
Yeah.
Humans are going to kill it.
Absolutely.
And it knows how to hide. It knows how to stay away. It knows how to survive.
Okay, you want me to blow your mind?
Sure.
I like what you're saying. Let me blow your mind just out of the water right now.
Okay.
So you're saying that there could be something smart enough that could stay hidden from us, probably for its own protection. And
right.
And apes are like that. Well, does 1902 sound like a long time ago to you? I mean, really, like as far as species and as far as human,
like evolution.
Yeah,
I think. No, I mean that's like a blink of an eye. And as far as
1902, I mean, there's still people. I think there's probably still someone living out there that was born in 1902 or close to it. Maybe. But still yet, it's not that long ago.
No, not that long ago.
That's when they found the first mountain gorilla.
Really? Just 1902?
1902 was when the mountain gorilla was discovered.
Aren't mountain gorillas really large?
Yeah.
Also?
Yeah.
They're like huge.
Very large, very intelligent. That's when the mountain gorilla was first discovered, was in 1902.
Yeah, and that was not that long ago.
So, I mean, yeah, look at that.
Right.
For me, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I think so too. And I just feel like that there is that possibility that there's a species out there that just doesn't want to be found and is very good at not being found.
Absolutely. Well,
so that's a plausible theory.
Yeah, very good. I'll go to the next theory.
Okay.
And it's my theory.
Okay.
Of course, many other people have this theory, but it's the one that I go so closely to just because of things I've been introduced to and things I have personally experienced in my life. That's the theory that it's a forest spirit and elemental or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
In some parts of North America, Native Americans regard Bigfoot as a supernatural being and often a messenger of the natural world. This is similar to the way the indigenous people of Nepal and Tibet view the Yeti as a spiritual entity. And pretty much that gives you to the credence of, there's so little evidence because there's simply none to find. Kind of like, you're just looking for a ghost. I don't know. It's when you get into the world of elementals, you get into the world of that level spirit, the game changes.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. And it is more spiritual and it is more, Mothman appearing before major disasters.
Right.
That type thing. I think there's a lot out there we just don't understand. I think there's a lot we don't know.
Right.
We just don't know, and we can't really comprehend. And I believe Bigfoot could possibly be an interdimensional being. You know, I believe that Bigfoot could be a elemental. I believe Bigfoot could be something like the leprechauns.
Right.
You know, and we'll do another show one day. I know we did the Hold a Folk show, but maybe another show one day and have a guest on just talking about how the true belief in leprechauns and the true belief in brownies and the true belief in all these things. And we probably believe in those for very good reason, more than most people. And, you know, so if those are possible, okay, and go find yourself somebody that has experienced something with them,
right?
And they will probably fight you if you say they're not. Then it's very plausible to me that Bigfoot could be, that family.
That would explain a lot of the rare sightings and the fact that you don't find any evidence and that kind of thing.
The only thing it doesn't explain is the physical evidence that we do have, which is like the footprints and, you know, the big part of Bigfoot. You know, also, it's not listed on our sightings and whatnot, but the Russian, the Siberian incident with those campers that we did on last week's episode.
Yeah, the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they, I mean, it possibly could have been.
Very well could be a Yeti or a Bigfoot sighting that, or, you know, in that category.
Yeah.
There's so many out there.
Yeah.
So many theories, so many. And you know what? If you have theories that we haven't mentioned on this, you know, or we don't mention on this, you know, get a hold of us and let's talk about it. It's, you know, any of the ways that you can get a hold of us, because it's very interesting to me, especially people that really pursue this, you know, day after day. I know in the past we've had Bigfoot hunters on our show, and after, you know, and they say these amazing things like, well, you know, I was talking to a family of Bigfoot, you know, we would communicate back and forth. And
right. I mean, there are some extraordinary claims.
It is.
Well, I have one more theory that I wanted to mention, because this one, I don't know how much I believe this one or not, but it's a theory that people say that perhaps Bigfoot is just a human or a human hybrid.
Right.
And the reason that they say this is because, you know, before we were here, there were other species of human. And there was apparently this one extinct human ancestor called Homo heidelbergensis.
Right.
Okay. And supposedly this ancestor lived 500,000 years ago, but that they were a very tall and robust species, standing at least 7 feet tall and very strong. And so there's a theory out there that perhaps Bigfoot, some kind of hybrid human. And there was that story. It came out a couple years ago about Melba Ketchum, this scientist. She's a veterinarian from Texas. Her name's Melba Ketchum. And she worked for the laboratory that got the Yeti hair samples from Bhutan that was collected with Destination Truth.
Right.
Do you remember the Josh Gates thing?
Yeah.
And she actually was on that show a couple times talking about it, but she got really interested in it. And she started doing all this analysis on supposed Bigfoot DNA. So she eventually claimed, like in 2012, that she had done all this testing and that the Bigfoot DNA was analyzed and that it was proven, she proved that the DNA was of an unknown hominin species crossing with a female woman, like a human. So the problem with this is that she didn't publish her findings right away. And so there was a lot of controversy over it. And a lot of people didn't accept her results. They said that she went about it wrong, and there was so much drama around it. It's a huge story. But supposedly, she feels her work's legitimate and that she really did find this. When she first announced it, I think the problem was that she didn't show any proof. Like, she didn't want to show anybody what she found. She just said it, and she's like, I'm not going to show it. I'm going to wait until my paper's published or whatever. And then no journal would touch the paper because of the subject matter.
Right.
So that is a legitimate theory that people work with because of the work that she did. And, you know, you got people on both sides of that. Like, some people, yeah, that's great. And some people are like, no, she's a fraud.
Right. Yeah. And you're always going to have that. So
yeah. I think she eventually did publish, but she ended up having to publish in like a brand new journal that didn't have any credibility or whatever. So.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, as we've said many times throughout this segment, you're going to be on one side or the other. Yeah. And just like politics, little is going to work to sway you on that until you get slapped in the face by a Bigfoot, you know, unfortunately. But I'm not like that. So hopefully there's others out there that are not like that. You know, you can be swayed just from, you know, people's personal testimonies. And
right.
I like to think that not everybody is out just to fool you.
Well, you know, I've never personally had a Bigfoot experience. I'm not going to say that I don't think it exists because I just don't know. So I'm on the I don't know. I have an open mind, but I've never experienced it. That's my stance.
All right, and both of us opened our eyes up a lot more, like we said, when we got out in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge.
I grew up in the woods, but this was different. When you're out in a forest, in the middle of a forest.
The deep, no civilization forest.
Right. No towns.
Not the woods down in the park down the street.
Right.
That's totally different.
Right. No towns, no lights.
No cell phone service.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game, kids. But thank you, and that's all for our main attraction. All right. Well, I am Bigfooted up.
Yes, that's a lot of good information.
I'm ready to Sasquatch you on down the road. It's I like it. I mean, there's a lot of good information and a little bit of a tirade in the middle. Means a good segment for me.
There you go.
ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go to find out everything Bigfoot. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97, where we do have Bigfoot tweet from time to time. And on Instagram, it's John and Stacey Edwards, where we will take shaky photos of Bigfoot just for your amusement and pleasure.
And blurry.
Absolutely blurry. On the YouTube, searches for Paranormal Sideshow, where you'll find cool little videos that Stacey has been making, and she'll start making some more of those. Some top 10 list or whatever, or some top list, and just cool stuff. Go there, check it out. It's going to take you about 4.9 seconds to do that. So let's try it out. And as we were saying earlier, well, however you listen to us, wherever you listen to us, please put some love out there and help us grow the show even bigger and better into brighter horizons, where we can actually have Bigfoot on as a guest.
That would be something.
That would be awesome. For my lovely, hardworking wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.